Yes, thank you, Frodo. This is, of course, Andor episode 6 called The Eye, and this is probably my favorite episode of the season. I haven't really decided on that yet, despite the fact that I've seen the show like 5 times by this point. I still not entirely sure which my favorite episode is. It's probably either this or One Way Out, and I'll probably make a decision on that by the time that I get to One Way Out, episode 10. But I truly adore this episode, The Eye. And I'm going to go into that, of course, but before I do, I just want to say, if by any chance you missed my previous reviews, I highly recommend you watch those first. There's a link to the playlist in the description, especially considering that episodes 4 and 5 lead into this one. This is the final episode of that arc. You really should probably know what I have to say about the previous episodes going into this one. But of course, this is the episode The Eye, where they are going to pull off the heist, and I really love how this episode starts kind of slow but methodical. Like, it's purposefully done to make sure that we slowly build up the tension, and I think the buildup of tension is done perfectly, really. Like, initially it just starts with a nice conversation between Cassian and Nemec, which actually carries on a storyline set it up in the previous episode where, Cassian and Nemec, they're talking, and that essentially makes Cassian a true believer like Nemec, and he really sees that, and that then at the end of the episode is important. We'll get to that later, of course. But after that conversation, we see everyone getting ready. Like, the 4 guys are gearing up in their Imperial outfits. Cinta and Vel are moving off to do their part of the mission. They're separated, but they're still communicating with the guys, so that's all good. But then Vel and Cinta are hiding, and a squad comes up to them, and they're just like, oh shit, what is going to happen here? Because if they get found out, that's the mission done. But no, it's okay, all fine. We're fine here now, thank you. How are you? Honestly, at times it seems a little bit shaky, but I really love how there are several moments throughout this episode where even characters are questioning what is really happening. Like, the guys, they're marching, of course, as they should, but when they're waiting and they're trying to communicate with Vel and trying to get a signal back, they're just like, is everything okay? Like, especially Nemec. Nemec has like the worst poker face that I've ever seen, and it's like, oh my god, dude, just keep a straight face, be professional. The other 3 are better at that, and it makes sense because the other 3 probably have a little bit more experience with this type of thing, but Nemec is just not great with it. And even Vel, when it comes down to it, when she's like on the dam, she's like, oh my god, this is actually happening. I'm not sure if it can go through with this, but it's very human. I love the part that, they make these characters relatable and human, and that's such a good thing about the show that I'm like, oh my god, are they actually going to go through with the heist, or are they going to call it off and is it going to go to shit? No, of course, they go through with it, but for a moment it gets you thinking like, oh my god. But I really just love how essentially all the pieces are being put into place, kind of like with chess. When you're playing chess, you're facing an opponent that you think you have beaten, but you just need to make sure that you put the pieces in the right place to make sure that you can actually beat them. Because, like, we see the guys in the Imperial gear moving in, meeting up with Gorn. Gorn is playing his part, of course. We see the locals coming in. This is once again a phenomenal thing about the show that I already said for my review of episode 3, where just for this one episode, they just thought of a complete custom local people. They didn't really have to put that much effort into making up, a language and customs that they do, but the show makers did that just to sell the fact that, this is a real planet with real people. I adore that because it just adds to the entire piece. Like, it paints a complete picture in that regard. I really love how it all comes together, essentially. Like, also, we get the introduction of this commandant, and my god, what is he a fucking dick. Oh my god, I want to strangle him. Like, and the great thing about the commandant is he is a prime example of a dick in real life who got into a position of power, and it's honestly a little bit difficult to figure out how the hell he got into that position, because he's just a dick to everyone, it seems, but he's in that position. It also reminds me that the Empire is truly evil, because this guy is like, he doesn't even care if he's thinning out the herd of locals. He's like, I don't really want the locals here, despite the fact that, the Eye is this huge thing that they've been following for God knows how long. and they want to continue on following that, but they're like, no, the next time won't be a thing. You fucking dicks, come on! And also just the way that he's treating his family, like when his wife is trying to help his son dress, and then he's like, no, he can dress himself, you need to help me because I'm too fat. Honestly, that moment reminded me very much of Game of Thrones, and I know I've drawn parallels to Game of Thrones in my reviews already, but this one especially, like...
You can't even put a man's armour on him properly.
You're too fat for your armour.
Fat? Fat, is it? Is that how you speak to your king?
Honestly, just very much like King Robert. I thought it was very funny, but oh my god, dude, you are such... I've said it enough already. What I do really love, though, is the fact that when the heist is going, he is spineless, and he can't even properly lie because, to be fair, they're very well prepared, so they know how the ins and outs on the base work. But then he actually helps them carry the money onto the ship. That's like a nice touch because he deserves that. I also really love the moment when he sees Gordon and he's like, you're also with them, and Gordon is like, yeah, serving 7 years on you, I deserve way worse than that. I'm like, thank you, Warren, that is such a phenomenal response. But honestly, oh my god, the Commandant is one of the worst guys in this entire show, but it is a representation of real life because these people exist in real life, which again is just a credit to the show, honestly, that like as ugly as some people are, they do exist. But when everyone is in place and Vel finally decided that she does want to go ahead with the mission starts. The Eye, of course, starts. Oh my god, the Eye. I'll get to it, but the first couple that come through are just like, oh my god, what is going to happen here? Because they've been teasing this for the past couple of episodes, and I honestly think that the payoff is everything and more that you would want from it. But quickly enough into the heist, it already starts to go a little bit sideways, and Nemik is held at gunpoint. Thank you, Centaur, for saving Nemik, because otherwise Nemik would have been gone. And that also instantly shows to the Commandant that these rebels, this group is serious, and they're not playing around. They're here to do a job, and they will kill if necessary. But they won't just kill anyone. And I also really like the response that Vel gives the Commandant, like, oh, that's what you would do. No. If we get our thing, you get to go free. That's fine by me. Which, yeah, that is, of course, a contrast with the Empire. Like, the Empire would just kill them regardless. Doesn't even care. They do actually somewhat care, and they are like, we're not just gonna kill you if you just give us what we want. So the group takes the family as hostages, and they go to the vault, start loading, and the tension builds and builds and builds even more because they use these soldiers that are just there playing a game. However, the people that they're using to help load the gold onto the ship are the soldiers from the base, and of course those soldiers are not just going to go quietly with everything. At one point, they will, of course, help the Empire if they see a chance. In the meantime, we, of course, see that the comms initially were jammed, but then the comms guy, actually manages to get a message out and message Elkenzie. Elkenzie gets the ties ready, and I'm entirely locked in. Like, oh my god, what is going to happen? Because you just know, despite the fact that this group is very well prepared, at some point it's going to go wrong. And when it does go wrong, it's like, oh shit, it's all going wrong. Because credit to, this show, in contrast to a lot of the other Star Wars projects, most notably probably Rebels, but also just the original trilogy, in so many Star Wars things, the Imperials are incapable. It's, of course, a joke that stormtroopers always miss. Well, in this, they don't really miss. Terraman gets shot and killed. Like, that's actually real. Like, holy shit, what the hell happened there? And also, essentially, the moment that Terraman gets shot, you just know, okay, shit is real. At this point, anyone can die, with the exception of Cassian. That's the only character that we know survives. But everyone else who's there, we don't know if they survive or not because they're not in any of the follow-up projects. And heck, there's even a point where, despite the fact that I know Cassian survives, I'm not sure if he's going to make it. Like, of course I know. But just in the moment, I'm like, holy shit, what is happening? What is going to happen? I don't know. It's just, I am completely locked in, and it's awesome. And then we get the eye, and I cannot oversell how awesome the eye is. Like, the moment it starts, it's absolutely breathtaking. I honestly, I get emotional while watching the sequence. I sometimes cry, sometimes I'm trying to just hold back tears depending on what I really want to do. But oh my god, it's such a cool sequence. I cannot believe what's happening here. And also then, yeah, they get into the ship and it seems like they're all good, but then when it blasts away, Nemec gets crushed, and it's like, no, not Nemec! Like, you were my favorite character of the entire group. I wanted you to survive, but he gets crushed. Like, of course he survives for the moment, and he helps them navigate out of the eye, and honestly, just them getting into the eye and then dropping down, going back up, it's like, oh my god, this is such a beautiful, awesome sequence, and there's not much really I can say other than I adore the sequence. And look, I think most people agree with me. If you don't agree with me, if you don't understand what's great about the sequence, I can't help you, I'm sorry. Anyway, once it's done, once they're in space, they need to figure out where to go. And what I found very interesting is that Skeen is like, no, we need to save Nemec, we need to go to the doctor. That was actually okay with just letting him die and going to somewhere else. But what I found interesting about that is, yeah, Skeen is sticking out his neck for Nemec, but then later, when Nemec is being treated by the doctor, Skeen is like, hey, Cassian, just want to get out of here? Just take the money and go? Dude, that's completely different to what you just said. And this is where it comes in that Nemec and Cassian talking was very important, because I very much get the feeling that Nemec actually made Cassian a truer believer. He made Cassian believe in the cost, that there is a cost, that they should probably do something with that. And the moment that Skeen says what he says to Cassian is when Cassian realized, you're not a true believer at all. Also, Skeen just straight up admits that he was lying, like, you fucking did. Honestly, I, like, you know, with the previous episodes about his brother, I'm like, okay, Skeen actually has a reason. No. Fuck you, dude. Skeen definitely deserves to die. Thank you, Cassian, for doing that. And yeah, then Cassian goes off. Of course, we'll see where in the next episode. By the way, I will say it is so sad that Nemec dies, especially because I believe he is the reason that Cassian eventually becomes a part of the rebellion. But then, when you think the episode is all done, like the heist is done, they've done it all, we still cut to Coruscant to show the characters reacting to it, because this is huge news. Like, the entire ISB is called there. Also in the Senate, like, we see that Mon Mothma's speech is interrupted, and everyone is like, oh wait, this is way more important than your speech, which kind of also indicates that Mon's speeches might not be the most influential anymore, which is probably going to lead to something in the future season. I'm going to get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. And then, of course, when Luthen hears it and he goes to the back, he's so genuinely happy. And Stellan Skarsgård's performance as Luthen is probably his best ever in anything. And he's been in a lot of things, like most recently also in Dune, but he has had a long career as a lot of different characters in a lot of different movies and TV shows. But I truly believe that Luthen Rael is probably his best performance ever, and one of the best performances in TV, which I'm so happy that he saved that performance for this, because it just makes me so happy. I adore this show. My God, Andor is so great. I adore this episode. Obviously, I adore the episode. I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts? Let me know if you agree, if you don't agree, if maybe you have issues with this episode, if it didn't work for you, or maybe if I convince you somehow. That would be great to hear, honestly. Just let me know your thoughts and opinions on this episode in the comments below. I hope that you liked the video, and if you want to subscribe to the channel or see more, you might want to click like here. Or if you need a bit more convincing, you might want to check out like live stream that I did or some other videos. I mean, I have plenty of stuff on my channel, but I think that's about all I can say. Thank you for watching my video, and of course, until my next one, may the Force be with you.